Well, obviously it was good to get back to work today. Colorado is a team that has played a bunch of teams very, very close and has a very physical nature amongst themselves on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively they've changed from an even front to more of an odd front, kind of the transition that we're going through. And so it's interesting to watch them. I got to sit back and continually watch more tape. But a quarterback that now has some experience in this league, young player, but he's done some good things for him. And wide receiver crew makes some good plays for them down the field. And the biggest thing that jumps out is we're there, right there in so many games. And I know their record's not what they'd like it to be, but I don't know how they've been in the past. I haven't ever played them before, but it's a team that is playing very competitive football week in and week out. So looking forward to getting ourselves in position to work towards the week as we get to tomorrow, and had a good start on them today.
Gary, could you address Gary Crotin's situation, your relationship with him, and what you plan on having him do?
Yeah, Coach Crotin is just, well, first of all, I competed against him. Some good days, some bad days. Obviously in that rivalry of the Utah-BYU rivalry, he had some great teams there. I have a ton of respect for Coach Crotin, and if we have an opportunity to have somebody come in, whether it may be spring ball, whether it may be in the off season, happens to be during the season at this point in time, and just kind of be with us on our staff. I don't know, consultant, whatever you want to call it, as you go through there. He's got some time on his hands. He's excited about the opportunity to be around a football program, and it's just great for us to have him be with us. So it's another really experienced coach that is great to be around, and he wants to be here and be part of it for as long as, I don't know how long that time frame is. He may be here for 10 days, and he may be here for another 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks. I don't know exactly, but I want him to be here as long as he feels comfortable, or as long as wife will let him stay. I guess that might be a key thing.
Gary, you mentioned the tale of two halves on Saturday after the game. Just now, sort of a couple days removed after watching film, just what are the biggest takeaways that you draw from the Washington State game? Well,
the biggest takeaways is exactly what you just said, is the first half and the second half. If you look at the first half on how we break down our plan to win, which you've all seen, or many of you have seen, it's right there in the team room, and it's in the locker room, and it's in the coaches' offices, and we didn't hit one of those plan to win goals in the first half. In the second half, we hit every one of them. And if you go 0 on the plan to win, you got problems. If you go 100%, you got up close to 100% of winning that football game as I've ever been around. So I've never seen it. I guess I could reword that. I've never seen it be 100% and lose a football game, and I've never seen it be, 0 and be able to win a football game. So you'll be in a good spot. That was a great takeaway. Secondly, we were able to make some aggressive plays, and even some in the first half, which was great to see. A blocked punt, an onside kick that went our way, kicked a deep field goal. We did some of those things from an aggressive standpoint that allowed us to that shows progress to me. We executed in key situations and in moments and made a play when we absolutely had to. So that was good. They kept fighting in the second half. Defensively, the difference is we tackled. We covered better in times. We played the edges of the defense better. Yes, all those things are true, but then ultimately we tackle so much better. And tackling is, it's three things really. It's athletic ability, it's strength, and it's technique. And we need to put all three of those together to get us in a spot to be able to be good tacklers, and it also has to do with the guys that you're tackling. But we got better in the second half for sure.
To go back to the offense for a second, you said after the game that it's risky business right now with how much Seth has been running the ball. How do you continue to manage that with him physically? Got dinged up for a little bit in the Arizona game, got dinged up on Saturday. Just how do you sort of balance that, since that is such a key part of his game too?
Yeah, it is a key part, and to me it's the planned runs are the good runs. Those are the ones where I don't know, I have percentages in front of me, but I think a quarterback running a planned run play is much safer than having a free hitter come off the edge and hit him in the back of the head on a sack. So those opportunities are planned opportunities. The scrambles and all the things that are out there are even a little bit more concerning for me. So how do we manage that? We need to take some strides forward on offense. We need to continually be as creative as we can and aggressive as we can, and find a way to play with a different style as needed. We need to get more production out of the offense. And when we look at that and we say that, it's so easy for one person to say, well, that's just the quarterback's not playing well, and that's not true. It's this group of people. It's 11 guys on the field. And do we get more production out of the quarterback? And do we want more? Yes. Do we want more out of the wide receivers? Yes. Running backs? Yes. So on and so forth. So, we'll be strategic and do everything we can and strategically move through the best kids on the roster to give them an opportunity to play too. So, we are where we are. So we'll keep flipping it around, maybe see a few different things on Saturday.
Gary, you talked about the tale of two halves. What does it mean to you as like a defensive-oriented coach? The defense really buckled down and didn't give up in the second half, and really the game, they scored a lot of points, but really buckled down. What's that mean to you as a coach?
Well, it was great for the kids, and it was, as a coach, it shows that they got a lot of fight in them. They got a big care factor, and they're not going to quit. And their ability to keep fighting is so impressive. It was just like that this morning at practice. By no means are they content, are they happy. It's not that, but they do want to fight back, and they understand that. I think they see themselves getting better and understanding more and continually trying to work as a team as we go through. They're not going to sit back and make excuses for themselves. So it's, it was good to see them have some success there in the second half and make some plays and then take the corrections that you give them. And it's not like we rewrote the playbook at halftime, but there was some tweaks that they had to accept and understand, and they were able to execute those pretty well. So that was good to see.
And moving forward, the gauntlet of experienced quarterbacks in the Pac-12 doesn't quite seem to end. Now you're going up against Sefo Lufau, who's got almost 3 years starting under his belt. What kind of challenges does he present to your defense?
Well, he's obviously he's athletic. You said it best. He's now got some experience. He's really no longer tagged as a young quarterback, and he understands his offense, and he's got some great playmakers around him. So it's experienced quarterbacks are something that are very valuable. So he's another good one that's out there. We'll have to make sure that we do all we can to, again, confuse him. And if you can get that done with the quarterback week in and week out, you'll be successful. We were unable to do that for one quarter or for one half last week, and I think we were able to do that for the most part in the third and fourth quarters last week, but it wasn't enough. So this week we've got to find a way to do it for a whole game.
Gary, you've been on both sides of this with teams. You've had sort of the rebuild and nationally ranked teams. In the position you're in, to get to the point where you want it to be, is it more about the talent, or does at some point have to be a belief that they can just start winning, or is it just kind of a combination of both of those?
I would say it's a combination. The number one most important thing to win in football games is talent. You have to be able to be talented, and then on top of that, you want to be experienced, and then on top of that, you want to be able to, or I guess underneath that, you want to be able to have the young kids in your program understand or learn from the right people to take steps quickly to be able to play, or why I'm not ready to play, or wow, I really do need a red shirt, or I'm not ready to be out on the field in that position yet. And that's there's some transitions that we're going through, and there's still weekly there's some amazing things that I guess if I ever wrote a head coach's pamphlet on how I would do things or things to look out for, there's something every week that comes up here that's not in my book. So it's as crazy as it is, it's just it's where we're at, and we continue to work through it. And the good thing is the kids they'll take the education, and they really will. So, but that's important for us to be able to. We have to recruit at the highest level to be able to compete at this level. If you don't have talent, it doesn't matter what you drop. It doesn't matter what your schemes are, offense, defense, special teams. It's at the end of the day, the team that are the most talented and coached the right way, then you have a good chance. So there's some old sayings out there, but they're not good to say in the media right now. So something to do with chicken salad and stuff like that. So but that's not us. That's not where we're at. So don't misinterpret that. I'm not saying that. That's an old coach that said that, not me.
And shockingly, you're back home, but you get another late start. I know you have no control over this at all. But do you prepare the team any different? Do they go through some different things when it's late? And do you hope at some time in your career that you might actually play a Pac-12 day game here?
That would be nice. Yeah, we would like that. My personal opinion is I'd like to see the Pac-12 kick off a couple games 11 o'clock, but I don't cover that, so that's not my deal. So I don't make those decisions. The starts are when they are. The kids will prepare. They'll be ready to go whenever they need to play. Don't really switch things up. Maybe have one more little walkthrough. The good thing is last time we played a little bit later, which was 5. It was Friday against Stanford, and 5 to 7:30 is a allotment of time that's obviously 2.5 hours. But on Saturday, at least there's football on, right? It's no offense, but that midday television on Friday is tough to take. So it's not real easy.
When you look at the secondary, there were obviously a lot of changes there on Saturday, partly because of performance, partly because of injury. What do you kind of make of that position group right now, halfway through the season?
Yeah, you're right. It's been because of injury, and it's also been because of performance, and quite frankly, really trying to get kids in positions to go. If you take a young man like Cyril is a very, very talented kid, and it's always your job as a coach to put a kid in the best position that he can possibly be. Cyril was a safety. He was a safety when we came here, and he's been playing safety. He moved more to some nickel last week and did some certain situations there and started to do some good things. As Cyril goes, we need to find the best place for him to be the best DB he can be, because quite frankly, he runs well enough and he's big enough to be a corner. Is he going to be a corner as he moves forward? So it's, different kids have different skill sets, but he has a very special skill set because he is one of our fastest kids. And we want to get him in the spot. And just because a kid doesn't perform at one spot the way we want him to, it's not because he doesn't want to. It's because it's maybe not the right fit, or if we can make it cleaner or better. So he's an example. Devin's kind of the same example. Devin, we moved from nickel back to play some safety, and he feels a little more natural there. If you were to ask him that question, he would say, there's just a little farther away from the ball is better for me. But is that better for Cyril and Devin? We'll see as we move forward. But it's we continually look at those pieces of those DBs, and the front is kind of the same, and then you're going to see some of that stuff this week with who's going to play outside linebacker, who's going to play inside linebacker. It's just moving it around every week to try to help us against the opponent we're playing, number one, and trying to find a way to flat play better defense overall, because we're not anywhere near where we need to be to win games, let alone become a good team.
The fake punt, was that a
It
call?
was not a fake. No, that was it's a coaching error. That's what it was. So the kid didn't do exactly what he was supposed to do, and we'd like to have seen it been kicked. But obviously, I've got to help him and get him to be able to kick the ball in that situation and not make that decision. It happened, and we always have to blame that on us as coaches, not on the kids.
And then Larry Scott, will we see him this weekend?
Yeah, that's, the injury things will come out, but you all saw Larry. It's a tough spot for him a senior year. We'll see how he goes, and we should know more in a couple days exactly. But, it's tough to miss that kid and not have him in that game. And especially, it happens on a play where he goes up for a ball and, gets a little tweak. So we'll see. I think we're okay injury status, but, when it's going to be a little bit longer than normal, then we'll have to just get that out there on Wednesday.
Might we see some of those D linemen back this week?
Yeah, I hope Jalen can go. I really do, and Jalen does too. So it'd be nice to be able to get him in there where he can get in and play a little bit. Who else were we missing? Robbins, he has to have another he got a little bit to go. It would be later in this week if he has an opportunity. Right now, he would not be able to practice as of today, so we'll see as we go forward. But if they're ready to go, they're ready to go. If they're not, then we'll have to keep going with what we've got out there, and kids will go hard.
Gary, talk about what you liked about kind of the offense breaking through this week, and compared to last week in Arizona, actually scoring 31 points this week.
Mm-hmm.
And in the second half, kind of like the defense not continuing to fight and continuing to be there, and Seth really continuing to mature as an offensive leader. Yeah,
it was, our leadership has still got a ways to go in a lot of different areas. So we're still leadership by coaches right now for the most part, and that's where we're at. That's the process we have to continue to work through and keep educating these kids. There's a few good leaders, but nowhere where we need to be. Secondly, I would say that, the offense did make some strides. The problem is, I don't want to skip the good and go right to the bad, but we had 5 opportunities in the second half to score touchdowns, and we scored 1. As bad as we played in the first half, the defense came back, and we could have put something special together on defense and on offense if we could have just matched it. But we didn't. But was there some bright signs? Absolutely, yes. I thought we ran the ball better in some certain situations. We were able to make some plays. There was a couple plays we left out there, and it's all encompassing. It's just it doesn't fire on all cylinders. The play down the middle of the field to Billy, Jordan needs to make that play. He wants to make that play. We didn't make that play. We need to at least try to make that play. But there was some great individual efforts. And as you say that, I should say what we did on special teams, I thought was we flipped the game in our favor, which was great. We had a block punt. We had a kickoff return. We kicked a long field goal. We got an onside kick. Those are good signs, and I'm proud of the kids. They could execute those situations.
Coach, on the return, if you could talk maybe about what Victor Balden did on it, how he ran it, how it was blocked, and then maybe about Balden's game. It struck me that he took some steps forward in the game, the catch he made down near the goal line, taking the hit, holding on, et cetera.
Yeah, Victor was the offensive and special teams player of the week for us, hands down. He did a very, very nice job, and the return was special speed. Let's say that. He hit, the thing he did as early on is he hit the crease, and Coach Woods will tell these kids all the time, there's going to be a crease there if you're going to get a big one on kickoff return, and it's going to be there for not very long. You're going to have a second, maybe second and a half to hit it if it's even going to be there, and a lot of times it's not even there. So his ability to see it, trust it, and that takes a lot of toughness, bravery, maybe a little bit of craziness to run through there with those guys running down at you that hard and be able to hit a hole and go in there like that, and he absolutely did. He hit it like his head was on fire, hair was on fire, and boom, he was shot out of a cannon, and the rest, he had some nice blocks downfield. There was some great second efforts to get to the second level of the defense as he ran forward. So that was a big-time play, and the kids have worked so hard on that team. They've don't have a lot of opportunities. A lot of times they kick it out. Sometimes we get them blooped up on us, and we'll probably get more of that now with Victor being back there. But that was a tremendous individual effort, and I agree with you on the catch. That was a tough guy catch. That's a big boy catch in a moment where you have to make it, and it's not going to feel real good. And he caught it and made a great play for us there. So I thought his play and his blocking, many times it goes unnoticed, but he is physical. Doesn't matter if it's a 240-pound linebacker in there that he's got to go crack on or coming down on a safety. The kid is going to lay it all out on the line for him. That's why he is such a great leader for our football team. He is one of those guys that is a special leader.
With respect to Gary Crotin, is it valuable sometimes to bring in kind of a fresh set of eyes? Is that a little bit, he's looked at everything you've done to this point, and whether it's 6 days or the rest of the year, a guy that can just take a look almost with an objective view, here's what he sees, and that's of value to you?
Yeah, that's always of value to me. Again, I will always ask somebody to come in a couple times a year and just give 4 days, and sometimes it's a head coach, and I'll ask them to evaluate me and see how I am around the kids. But I don't want to bring somebody in that's just going to say, yeah, everything's great. That's the last thing I want. I want somebody that's going to come in and look at me and say, I know that's how you do it, Gary, but I would do it this way, or I see this or that. And, that's part of it with Coach Crotin. He does have such a great knowledge base. That's important. But secondly, it's just, he wants to be here and he wants to help. And I think it's pretty cool that he just wants to come out and be part of us, and we're lucky to have him. But he has extensive knowledge, and another set of eyes and another tremendous football brain does not hurt. And he's great with kids. He's always been fantastic with kids, which is a #1 priority.
Gary, back here.
Yep.
Was there a certain point when Crotin sort of came into the equation when you knew you wanted to bring him in, and did you reach out to him? Did you personally reach out to him, or did somebody else within the office reach out to him?
So Kevin McGivern, they're family. So that's where it all boils down. So I told him if he got tired of being around kids at McGivern's house and got crowded for him, he can come and shack up. I got empty bedrooms. But slobbery Great Dane may meet him in the morning and a big kiss, but other than that. But Kevin actually communicated with me and asked me if it was okay if Coach Crotin came for a little bit, and I didn't know what a little bit was, so I asked him, and I said I'd like him to stay as long as he wants to stay. So again, I think he'll stay here as long as his wife will let him stay. So
Coach, Colorado, what can you tell us about what do you got to do strategically? What kinds of things do they like to try to do?
Well, they have some, again, on the offensive side of the ball, the tight ends are involved in the passing game, especially vertically down the field. Apologize for not knowing 81's name right now, but it jumps out on tape as he's a vertical threat as a tight end, and he's a good player. I know the one wideout got injured on the last play of the game. He was a very talented kid, but there's 3 or 4 of those wideouts that are good. So they're going to have our hands full coverage-wise. We'll have to make sure we mix them up, handling the quarterback within the spread run game. They'll do that. Then they'll come in and they'll get in two tight end personnel and try to knock you off the ball. And they've had some success doing that against some Pac-12 teams. When they played against Arizona State and they spread it out, they didn't have much success really. Pass down the field, but then that was out of their bigger group of people, and then they came in and ran the ball in double tight situations and had some success against Arizona State, especially early. So defensively, again, a very solid crew. A lot of similarities to kind of what we do and what they do as far as the odd front to sometimes to the even front to the quarters coverage that they play, and some good kids back there. I have not spent as much time watching them on the defensive side as I have on the offensive side of the ball. And the reports back that I get at this early date is on special teams that they're solid, and we need to keep being aggressive. For us, if you look at us offense, defense, and special teams, for us to win games and where we are and where we sit today, we have to be aggressive. We have to take some chances.
From Stanford to even Washington State going downfield to this week, have you been in a conference that is this diverse when it comes to offense?
No, and probably not this good on offense either. I was told that by a lot of defensive coaches when I came into this league, and it changes every week. It's this offense, it's that offense. A lot of people say, well, it's spread and it's wide open, but the difference between Washington State and Arizona is dramatic. I mean, it is a dramatic difference. One could say it's wide open football. Okay, I agree with that, but it's not the same scheme, and much is the same this week. You could say that there's common formations, but what people are doing out of there, this week, we didn't see one polar last week against Washington State. It's offensive lineman, I don't think the whole game. Well, the week before we saw quite a few of them against Arizona. My bet is this week now all of a sudden we'll turn around and see a bunch of polars again, and that doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people that don't technically get into football, but that's hard, to switch every week, to go back and forth and switch to this, to that. I mean, that's why people do it. So it's talented kids out there. That's why experience is so key. I think it'll help as you get older. You've got something to lean on as you move forward for coaches and for players.
And speaking of the spread, Gary, and offense, what kind of went into your decision? Why did you decide to bring the spread offense here, and what success and advantages do you see with that offense?
Well, I really believe, and this is just my belief, if you have to be a wide open offense, and when we say that, as we progress and we mature and we go forward, we have tight ends on our 85 scholarship list that we want, and we'll get into a spot to be able to run the ball effectively with some tight ends and scenarios as we grow. But we want to be a spread team. I think you have to be able to be that type of a team that has a quarterback that can hurt you with his arm, his legs, and his mind to win a championship in this league. I don't think you can do it if you're going to line up and say, we're going to run power O at you and come and get you. Some week you're going to get outscored even if you're probably the best team. That's just my take on it. And I truly believe that, and we came here to get a championship. So if we're playing for anything less, then, it seems a long ways away right now. I get that, but that is our mindset to prepare for that in the future and as we go forward.
And obviously, you said you've never played Colorado before. Don't have a huge mindset about Colorado, but from where they were when they came in the Pac-12 a couple of years ago, when they were just not competitive in any of their games, to where they're being competitive every week, is that the same kind of mindset you guys want to follow as a rebuilding team as well?
Sure. You want to get better every single week, and I look at them, and I don't know how they were in the past. I don't know what type of personnel they had. I know I have great respect for their head coach, and we had battles when he was at San Jose State. So he's a good coach. They're a good coach. They're all good coaches, but we've have a past, just kind of like have a past with Sonny. So it's they've made strides. They've gotten themselves better. I don't think there's any question. So we're looking to do the same thing. We good? Yep, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
On a broader scale, talking about the defense and kind of the state of mind, you brought up the aggressiveness earlier. Is that, besides a win and a loss, the biggest like, I don't want to say character, but maybe character thing you're looking for in your team this Saturday is the aggressiveness?
Yes, that would be one of the major things I'm looking for. And I want them to continue to be edgy. And, I got asked this morning on the radio if I feel like I have to, 2 tough losses, I have to back off on them, and I have to be able to, hey, it's okay. And no, it's not. So, and no, I don't have to. These kids will react. They know exactly what to expect, and the ones that don't, then they need to handle it. And there's a lot going on in their minds. There's, like we always say, right now there's a lot going on in all these kids' minds, but they bounce back as a team very, very well, and they're not real happy about the loss. So we'll continue to fight, and we have to have that edge in this league. You have to be able to bounce back and fight. You can't accept a defeat. You have to move on, and that is part of this league, and it's always going to be part of this league. Right now, I guess Utah's really the only one that's come through and undefeated, right, that's left in the league. So it's tough sledding, tough place to live, man, but it's the best of the best, and that's why it's hard to win every single week. But these kids will learn these, and if they can't learn that, then obviously that the league is too much for them, not just Oregon State. The league is too much, and you have to understand as you grow and develop, it's not for everybody, and that goes for coaches, trainers, weight guys, players, media, right? It's tough. It's tough business.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay, thanks, guys.